Hello, ladies and gentlemen, loyal listeners, and welcome to the sos-radio podcast. All paranormal, all the time. My name is Jason Nhyte, president and founder of Chicago's own Supernatural Occurrence Studies, and your host into the unknown. As always, today I'm joined by my fellow SOSers and brothers in arms, Mr. Joe Erie.
Hello, everybody.
SOS member and Claire Sensitive. Mr. Dave Black, SOS co-founder and also Claire Sensitive. Dave, wake up.
Wubba lubba dub dub.
That's
extra
hello.
Quiet today.
Yeah, Dave's extra quiet.
Yeah, Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty, very good. And of course, as always,
comedian I used to work with, writes for them.
Producer extraordinaire, Mr. Oscar Spector. He's not mic'd up today because we have a special guest in the house tonight. A gentleman, I'm going to try to get this right. First time I'm meeting him. Mr. Michael Chiklis. I'm just kidding, although he does look like Mr. Michael Chiklis. Larry Biela, actor, investigator, bodyguard. The list goes on and on. Mr. Biela, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hi, my name is Larry Biela. I'm a private detective in Chicago, have been for a long time. I do writing, I do acting, I do a lot of different kinds of things, like you said.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us. It's kind of a crazy story how we came to know you, how Joe Erie came to know you. You helped a friend of ours by the name of, I could say his name, right, Joe? By the name of John Maloof. A really kind of rags to riches kind of story. The long and short, this friend of ours, John, purchased a few storage things. What do you call them?
Crates.
Storage crates. Right, storage lockers. You see on TV, Storage Wars. He was watching on TV, said, I'm going to do this. And he hit the jackpot. He wound up finding the collective memoirs and photography from a woman by the name of Vivian Maier.
What was most interesting was the film none of it was developed.
Undeveloped film, correct. So he didn't even really know what he was sitting on until he started developing these photos, and he realized, holy crap, this is something. So then
he had to raise a lot of money to film it because there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of containers of shot film that was never developed.
And now you helped John, who's a close personal friend of Joe Erie, so this is how the connection all comes in. You helped John in a lot of the detective work, trying to track down.
Right. Well, one of the things that was in the storage container was a phone book that had all of Vivian Maier's previous people she had worked for. She was a nanny for children, and there's a lot of stories about her taking the kids all over, photographing things throughout Chicago. She had I also collect photographic art. I have for a long time, and her eye was incredible. Some of the work is astounding. It's amazing. She had a little box camera that she walked all over Chicago with a bunch of kids all the time, and took the most incredible artwork, catching things you would never imagine, like the homeless people. She took the kids into like the west side, south side parts of Chicago. These rich kids, these were all North Shore families. Wow. Wilmette, Winnetka, that kind of thing. And she would take these kids on the train into the city, into these neighborhoods. And she took these photos. And like I said, they're really impressive work.
And we're talking early
50s, 60s?
50s, 60s. Okay.
I think even up into the 70s.
Wow.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, I mean, it's really worth seeing.
Yeah, it's called Finding Vivian Maier.
Meijer.
Meijer. Available on Netflix? Available on Netflix.
It's almost like she knew what was going to happen. Like she went in, like all the money that she made being a nanny, she would use to buy film and go on vacation. And had it saved, almost wanting it to be found, and
it's incredible.
No, it really is. It's an amazing story.
Yeah, and since he found it, he purchased a storage unit. He then became property holder. His property now.
Like I said, he had the phone book of all these people from 20, 30 years prior.
So then here you were tracking
I had to track all these people down. So all the people interviewed in the movie were all the people I tracked down. I've actually done it for a lot of different movies. Done a lot of research.
That's excellent. Yeah, and you were also, that's a whole interesting story by itself. But what films have you taken part in?
Well, I was in the film Chirac, which was filmed here in Chicago, which is the worst movie I think I've ever seen. But the vast majority of movies I'm involved with are independent films. And also a couple of TV shows. There's going to be a couple shows on Netflix. I'm involved in a pilot for a TV show called Conrad. Which is about police corruption, and I play the police chief. And yes, I am very corrupt.
Watch yourselves, guys. Watch your pockets. Excellent, Larry. So then now, come full circle, here you are with us on this paranormal themed podcast. Now, it's important to note, as SOS-Radio, as Chicago's own supernatural occurrence studies, we don't have an agenda. We don't necessarily have a narrative. We're just guys who go out and have been investigating this stuff for the last 20 years or so. And now we found this medium of podcasting, time-release radio. We find you here with us. What brought you to us?
Well, I met Joe through John Maloof. We got introduced, and we started talking on the phone, and he had some research he was looking to do, and he told me what you guys were doing, and it sounded interesting. I've actually had some paranormal experiences in my own life. I feel energy. I hear energy. I feel energy all the time. I was telling Joe I was actually out in Salem, Massachusetts a couple of years ago, and walking down the street, it was like you could feel the evil.
Yeah.
Just encompassing around your body. And it's like, you get these weird feelings.
2 years ago, I brought my family. I'm weird that way. I have 2 young kids, 8 and 3, and I brought them to Salem as well. We did the whole Salem walk, the witch trials, the cemeteries, everything. And you're right. And I don't feel anything.
And it's amazing because they've maintained so much of it.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't have a Chicago fire. So much of Chicago's history went up in flames one day.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's there.
You can interact with it, walk through it.
Well, there's the first restaurant in America is in Boston. It's from 1400s.
Wow. Incredible.
I think it's called the Market. It's still there.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks like an old building, but it's still there.
Man. Yeah, we've taken them to New Orleans. We've taken them to St. Augustine in their short little lives. They've been to
That's the oldest city in America, St. Augustine.
St. Augustine, exactly. My daughter actually captured a photograph. Her very first third-generation ghost hunter caught a photograph at the old St. Augustine jail.
Cool.
Of a
Well, I've been in a lot of jails and prisons in my life, and I'll tell you something. There's Menard Prison in Illinois or Stateville Penitentiary.
Yeah.
Man, you walk in those places, and that's weird vibe.
Well, let's get it on our list,
A lot
guys.
of dead people have died in there. I even suggested to Joe, we might want to find a prison, find an old prison burial ground. There's paupers, cemeteries, and things. There's got to be a lot of amazing...
Well, no, we talked about that also. Go ahead.
The one over here. Yeah, go ahead. Being in the area, did you know about the Cook County Alms House? The old
Right, he actually just told me about
asylum?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pulling up bodies today, putting in new roads and drainage on the side of, Oak Park Avenue?
Yes.
Joe? Yeah, right here.
Right
walking
between
distance.
Montrose and Irving. Right there.
60,000 bodies in a mass.
Well, you have to
they said it at least right now, at least 17,000. At
17,000.
least.
Yeah.
Well, how many people have lived on this planet? How many are buried everywhere? There's got to be mass grave sites everywhere.
Right.
Just think the Chicago fire, how many people got buried that day?
Yeah.
It was like basically when I met Larry, it was just such an unexpected coincidence. I called for one thing, about some detective
some
work,
research,
and then it got flipped around how much we all had in common. So it's weird how that turned out. How the world.
I'm glad
knows.
he's here. The world knows. My old saying. Yes. Dave, what do you think?
I don't know, man. It's just there's all kinds of stories and stuff what we're going to be talking about today. And I looked into it, and me, I'm like always the skeptic about this stuff. So I hear all the urban legends, and I hear all the stories, and I hear all the, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
So what Dave is referring to is the topic of today's podcast. Triangle Woods, located in the far northwest side of Chicago. Triangle Woods, also known as Satan Woods, also known as Devil Woods. Between Belmont Avenue, Cumberland, Irving Park.
It's most commonly known as Triangle Woods.
Triangle Woods, yeah. Harlem Avenue to the east, Belmont Avenue to south, Cumberland Avenue and Irving Park Road to the north.
Isn't it actually called Schiller Woods? Isn't that the actual name of it?
I don't think it is.
There's a lot of names to it.
Yeah, Indian Boundary Woods. But it's part of the Cook County Forest Preserve chain, and just growing up in the neighborhood, we've heard our entire lives, don't go in there. You go in, you don't come out. They pull dead bodies out of there. People... They go in, they don't come out. They find dead cows on the side of busy Belmont Avenue. We'll get into all the stories later, but just a real mysterious place. Druid activity, Satanist activity. We don't know what's going on there, but we're always told don't go. But we'll get into that later. So hopefully Larry may be able to shed some light on...
Well, there's also, historically, that area, there's a lot of organized crime there, too.
Would you have a firsthand
yeah, there's a lot of organized
right?
crime. Yeah, there's probably a lot of bodies buried out there over the last many years. The Elmwood Park crew was very prolific in Chicago organized crime.
Sure.
The problem, of course, with burying bodies in the woods is there's a lot of roots, a lot of branches. Yeah. It's not very easy to dig in the woods.
So there's no dead bodies in the woods ever.
I mean, yeah, but I'm pretty sure most of them get discovered pretty quickly because the only grave you can really dig in the woods, it's not going to be like a 6-foot grave. It's going to be like 2-3 feet deep, and coyotes and raccoons and whatever will scratch it up and drag the pieces out.
But also, too, if you're going to bury a body and you have an empty land, what do you plant over that body where people aren't going to get? You're going to tree.
This is the thing: is if you want to get rid of a body in Chicagoland, you go out to the dunes.
Or you feed it to pigs.
That's sand.
That's the one. You feed it to pigs.
That's
not that we're saying we're not giving the how-to guide to hide bodies here, but
in the dunes, like these sand dunes, they move inland throughout time. So if you can bury somebody on the south side of one of these dunes, cover them up, the dune will literally cover them up completely.
Yeah, but
it'll be 100, 200 years before they pop out the other side.
Yeah, exactly. Well, 200 years.
Never
but
thought of that.
The mindset though too. Like, all right, let's just say you're a mobster and you're gonna kill somebody, okay, or bury them. By the time they find them, let's say it's 70 years, you're gonna be dead.
Oh yeah.
So you're not gonna get caught.
Well, the truth is, in the old days, it really didn't make a bit of difference. Now with DNA, who the heck knows what they're going to find and track it backwards, and you wind up doing time.
Right.
Personally, I'd burn a body. I'd have nothing left. It'd be coming out of a pig's rear end if I if I had to get rid of a body.
Okay.
Well, in the old days, they used to put it in the bumper chroming tanks, and that chemical, that acid, would eat the body entirely.
Okay.
I think the key to murdering somebody, is just make sure they're not white.
Okay, here we go.
Because those are the only ones. Those are the only crimes they try to solve.
Larry's here. He's gonna join in.
Obama to do a drone strike.
Yeah, there you go.
He's gonna join in where he can and lend his expertise from his, I believe you said, about 30 years of private detective work.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of intimate knowledge on the Chicago outfit. Don't know how close you want to get to that topic, but we'll see where this conversation goes. Like I said, we're going to be talking about Triangle Woods, far northwest side of Chicago. We were planning on taking the podcast to Triangle Woods today, but there's a real severe thunderstorm going on right now. We've already lost power once. So nice thing about podcasting is it's mobile, but also electronics in the rain, not smart. So we're going to see where this conversation goes. But as always, let's just start with the Mr. Lincoln Report. Of course, Mr. Lincoln Report is the paranormal experiences we may have had as a group over the past 2 weeks since the last releasing of the podcast. And I could just start out by saying I've been doing a lot of traveling the last 2 weeks. I've been to Omaha, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Busy. Nothing paranormal has happened to me over the
Sound like
past
some
2
very
weeks.
exotic locations you visited.
Yeah, and I'll be in New Orleans this weekend. Is that exotic enough for you?
That's a lot better than the other places
It is.
you mentioned.
Well, got to pay the bills. And I get paid very well. Joe, Dave, anything happened to you?
Well, I wasn't here for the last one, so
Correct.
It's been like, a month?
Yeah.
Since I've seen you guys?
Yeah.
Nothing terribly significant. I was telling Joe about this earlier, though. I live by myself. My girlfriend and I are on hiatus
Here
right
we
now.
go. There it is.
So nobody else has been in my place, is what I'm saying.
What about any guys?
I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing. I know somebody died in my house, in the apartment that I live in. I live in a house. I live on the second floor of a house. My landlord.
Sauganash neighborhood?
Yeah, well, near it. My landlord grew up in that house. His sister passed away of cancer in
Right,
the
I remember you
upstairs
talking
where
about
I
this
live.
First couple podcasts.
So I've tried not to really think about it too much, and I've tried not to when I'm at home, I try not to delve into supernatural stuff. I don't want to conjure anything or bring anything.
Oh, wait, the constant skeptic, the Scully. What are you doing? What are you telling us here?
I can feel stuff.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
And so I don't want to feel stuff in where I live, basically. So I try not to I try not to flip that switch and open up that thing when I'm there.
No, I get you.
Anyway, my point is that when I brush my teeth, I always put my toothbrush on the left side of the sink. It's an electric toothbrush with the handle on the sink and the brush part hanging over the sink to like dry off.
Yeah.
And the last few days, I go into the bathroom and my toothbrush is on the other side of the sink. And it's always like, did I pretty sure I didn't do that.
Well,
but
that's
did
the
I
thing.
do
When
that?
it's your home, you know what you do in your home at all times.
Does your girlfriend still have a key? Maybe she's messing with you.
Yeah, she's coming in.
Yeah, maybe she wiped her ass with it.
She's driving. She's driving in from Streamwood to like move my toothbrush.
Oh, it's making you insane. She is an ex.
I know what you mean.
Well, she's not my ex officially. We're on
There's a hiatus.
Yeah.
A girlfriend imposed hiatus.
Yeah. So
not yet.
Basically, that's really the only thing I've experienced of significance lately. That's been kind of unusual. But once again, it's still one of those things that it's like, maybe I put it there.
Well, it's like me at home with my lights and the fans and stuff going off in my new house.
Yeah.
I know what I do in my house. I'm sure of it. I'm OCD when it comes to stuff in my house.
Yeah.
So it does. It makes you scratch your head.
You know, I think we figured out, too, what's going on with your house.
Do you want to talk about it now? Should we talk about it now real quick? Or
Yeah, we might as well really quick when we're recapping because we didn't talk since last time. The last podcast, okay, after we got done, it was
the last podcast, you're right. Episode. Oh, by the way, guys, this is the 20th episode. Nice big round number. Yay, 20th episode. Hey, Oscar, smart ass. Oscar's on like number 127 with Everything is Opinionated, available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher.
But yeah, after that, later on, we're hanging out at night and we're trying to figure out what's in this
So that was
house.
episode 19. That was my point.
We were walking outside, and all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa! You know how you get drawn in to where you feel? It's the house next door to yours.
So the house next door to mine, I have a nice home. Next door neighbor, however, he's the eyesore of the block. He's a very nice older gentleman, semi-retired. He decided to purchase the house and rehab it on his own as a project. Very nice guy. But it is a scary looking home. It's a huge lot. It's got a lot of stuff back there. It's creepy looking. You know what I'm talking about, Oscar. It's very strange looking. He doesn't have a mic today. So I could see that. Even by appearance, you're like,
it doesn't matter about appearance. It just matters about that feel. And I just knew. And all of a sudden I started walking where I was going with the feel. And all of a sudden I just knew where it was. I'm like, shit, that is where it's coming from.
And that's where you're seeing the shadows in my hall.
Because it's on that side.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that did happen. You're right. Glad we mentioned that. How about you, Oscar? Anything happened to you?
Nothing.
No.
As always. All right, Joe, how quickly could you recap what happened to you over the past couple
just
weeks?
like Dave, how something got moved. I bought a pendulum from a shop. I've been messing with it here and there. I'm surprised how much it works. Maybe we'll do a show on that eventually, but it's actually made from a bullet. Okay. I initially when I bought it, I put it in a spot by my bar, and since it is a bullet, later on I decided to move it because I didn't want anybody touching or where they're not going to find it or get to it. So I put it in a little plastic case where you actually have to press it and seal it, and I hid that.
Okay.
A couple days ago, I came home, and the pendulum was back where I initially put it. And
bullet and all?
Yeah. And I was like, there's no way my wife moved it. I know because I hid it from her because I didn't want her messing with it. I even asked her. She's like, no, I didn't touch it. There's no way her dad would have touched it. And but I grabbed it and I started asking questions. I'm like, did you not, show me yes, show me no.
So for those who don't know, how does a pendulum work?
Basically, you hold the chain, the top of it with your right hand, and you hold your left hand underneath, and you say, show me yes. It moves a certain way.
So it could be different every time. What
yes
is a circle.
It lets you know, and then you say, show me no, and then it'll move a certain way.
Huh.
I asked it a series of questions, and basically what it boiled down to, it didn't like the spot that it was, so it said it moved itself back.
Really? And where was it here? Where was it?
It's on my bar. I'll show you in a little bit.
On the bar with all that weird shit.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I wouldn't like it either.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But it didn't like that. It didn't like that I hid it in that box. It liked being out with everything.
Oh, on the bar, but out, not hidden.
Yes. Wow. Yes. Which I've never had. I mean, I've had things like, I knew where it was. I couldn't find it. I come back later on. It's there. But this was actually like where I knew I put it inside something. And it's like, how could it something actually like I locked inside it come out? There was I can't explain that. That's all I'm saying.
All right. That's number one. Strange.
Number two, I had we'll talk about it later, but I had a crazy thing that happened. Okay. And, I went to, the shop where, I have some friends, which are,
well, you could say the name, right? I mean, it's publicity for them, right?
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
It's,
Two Sisters?
No, what is the name? I never even pay attention.
Are you serious?
It's so, yeah, it's, what is it? Yeah,
Is it the
like Soul Sisters?
The Lions, then, where you get the...
I thought it was Two Sisters.
No, it's called,
so this is their chance to get...
Oh, man.
This is the chance.
Yeah, right? Son of a bitch.
And it was for me,
How did you forget this? This is their chance for free publicity.
What?
Thousands of listeners, and you forget the name. No pressure, Joe.
I want to make sure I say it right. It's called Spiritual Vibes and the Soul Sisters.
Spiritual Vibes and the Soul Sisters.
Yes.
And the Soul Sisters.
Yes.
Address?
Let's see. 3954 North Osceola Avenue.
Oh, it's right over here where we're sitting today.
Right by me.
Oh, okay.
Osceola.
All right. Yeah. Wow.
We'll talk about it later, but something happened, and and they kept on telling me that they smelled a weird smell in their shop. It smelled like beef stew. Okay. And I'm like, beef stew? Like, yeah, just out of nowhere. I mean, you ever go to a place and you smell flowers, or like, no one's been in the house and it smells like flowers, or you get that scent where a spirit or someone's trying to tell you something.
Are you asking, or are you just rhetorical?
Asking.
Yeah. So when we just bought this house a few months ago, we must have looked at, no joke, I think when we sat down at the closing table, my real estate agent said we looked at like 54 homes over like a 4-month period.
And he thought about shooting you by the time you finally bought the house.
She hated us. Sorry, Tracy. But one of the homes that my mom and my wife went to check out, I was out of town with work. They walked into the home. It was a very nice home. But when they got into the basement, my mom got hit, Sue Nhyte. She got hit with this overwhelming, stinking, sickly, sweet smell of flowers. And she's like, somebody died here. This is, no, Jay won't like this house. So they went out. Before they went out, they told Tracy, the real estate agent, and I guess the husband or someone, I think it was the husband, was actually laid out at that home. And she feels she was picking up the scent of all of the flowers that were associated with that event, which was in the past. So, yeah, I could say, yes, we have had experience with the smell of flowers.
Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there really quick and in detail, but there was some bones that were found in a forest reserve, okay?
All right, so are we talking about this, or...
Just briefly, and we'll talk about it later, okay?
So we are going to get into detail.
There was bones that were found in a forest reserve. They wound up being human, okay? And that's getting looked at now. And ever since that was brought in the shop, they got that smell, and we were getting all this weird stuff going on, okay?
In the shop.
Yeah, and also at my house. And so they kept on telling me they got a weird smell in the shop of beef stew. After they told me that, for the next couple of days, my stomach hurt really bad. And I wasn't sick. It was something's trying to tell me something, like how someone died, or so my stomach was hurting, and I wound up coming to my house. It was Monday and Tuesday. When I got home from work, I had a weird, just a horrible smell of like vomit, like just throw up. Like
you're in the house.
Oh, yeah. And I'm like looking, I'm like, who threw up, or like what the hell is that? Like just gross smell, and couldn't find anything. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe it's, the fish tank or the chameleon tank. But nothing. I didn't think anything of it. I And I also bought a giant chunk of malachite, and that blocks out, like bad energy. Well, all right. Anyway, all this weird stuff's been going on.
Isn't that the guy from Children of the Corn?
Malachi. Yeah.
So I go to my grandma's house today, and I was asking her if she felt anything since last time where she saw the guy with the white beard, and I'm like, no, and she's like, well, could you walk around and see if you feel anything? And I know she was kind of just testing me to see like where I felt it, and I am not fucking kidding. I walked in her bedroom. And I walked into static electricity. It was just, I was like, it was so strong. And then I looked at her rocks that I gave her, the green calcite, and they're almost white.
Which means what?
That means it's working and it's pulling all that bad shit out of her. You know what I mean? Not bad stuff, but it's helping her. And the green, not only it's good for inflammation and all that, but it also, like purifies, like it makes your abilities stronger. Mm-hmm. So those rocks were actually working just like how it worked with other people. And she asked me if anything happened. I'm like, no, not really. It's just for like Monday and Tuesday, like some things kind of were going on. And she's like, well, does smell have to, I came in, my bedroom and I had the worst smell. And I was like, wait, what?
What did it smell like?
And she's like, it smelled like death, like something died, like a vomit, like it was. And I'm like, oh my God, Grandma.
That's pretty cool.
She used that word? She used vomit?
Cool.
Yeah.
Like you were smell. Wow.
And I'm like, Grandma, like for the last couple, and she's like, when was this? I'm like, this was like Monday and Tuesday. And she looked like, oh man. But she was nervous that like, cause she thinks that this guy with his beard, like is, gonna hurt her. Like, you know what I mean? She's worried. She's been sleeping on the couch.
Now, when you say guy with the beard, I don't think the listeners know.
When I was
beard, right?
Well, if you listen to previous episodes, but sure, like when I was little, I used to see a guy in my house with a big, long white beard with his family. He would just stare at me, no emotion. Okay, I gave my grandma some green calcite. Later on that night, she woke up to seeing a guy with a big white beard staring at her, holding my baseball cap. Okay, and my grandma has what I have. I believe she has it even more, but, and also her mom had that. But she's thinking that he's kind of, she's kind of afraid of him. But I know good and I know bad. At her house, it's good. It's not a bad thing. I think he's trying to enlighten her.
So what was there's nothing bad there. What was this green calcite pulling out to turn white?
Well, she has arthritis and she has a lot of issues. She's older, and it's like when it turns white, it's actually working. It's pulling out the bad stuff.
Okay, when I associate bad stuff with bad.
Yeah, because if you look into like Reiki or anything like that, it's like you'll just look up green calcite and then you'll
I could attest it does work. It's weird, but it does work.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this all tie back to the beef soup, the vomit smell, the bones?
I have a feeling I know how that person died. So I feel like they got poisoned.
So what the listeners don't know, probably no one really here knows yet, I know, but you were the one who discovered the bones. In the location we're going to talk about today.
No.
Oh.
I found it somewhere else.
Oh, I thought it was Triangle Woods.
I
apologize, listeners. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. But you did find the bones.
And I think there's like a weird connection where how you get drawn to certain areas, like where, remember Larry, like you said, I just knew where the meteorite was.
Right.
Like how things just kind of like, you just go with it. You just know.
Right.
Certain people with abilities, you're just drawn to certain areas.
So, okay. It just clicked. No way, it just clicked. So, you found the bones in a location. It wasn't Triangle Woods.
And then later, and this is like a year ago.
And you brought the bones to the shop, the rock shop that we just mentioned.
And then they wound up going to another place and they found
out that it was human.
Well, no, they wound up going to another location and they found more, and they put it together and it matched, and they have people looking into it now.
Police?
Yeah.
So police are looking into it. They went back to the location where you found the bones?
Yes.
Okay, are we going to say...
No. This is a different place. Yeah.
Well, how do they get bones that match from two different places?
That's weird. Like, I don't even know how to describe that. Like,
Synchronicity. I mean, that's something.
I was just like, I didn't
chop the body up.
I didn't.
How did they know where to go?
I don't know. That's the weird thing.
We got to get them on here. They were supposed to be on here today.
And we will. And that's why,
Larry.
like, I want them to tell the story. You know?
Right, so, but
I don't want to say too much. But
the smell of beef, stew, right? And then vomit. You say poisoned. Possibly.
Yeah, but this could also be something else. And first, like when I went to the shop and Nina, she told me that she hears things every once in a while. There's a little kid that came to her and said, "Tell my mommy I'm okay." Okay, and I picked up this green calcite. This is the first time like where I just started, actually like messing around with the stones. And that night I went to sleep and I had that dream where I saw the skinny Hispanic kid with the hair and I scared him off. I went back to tell her and she described the kid before I even got a chance to tell her. I didn't know that she saw the kid and I was like, holy shit. Like that's exactly who it was. And the cool thing is I didn't say he looks like this and this and this. She told me, so I know that she's not just saying,
right.
Yeah, that was him, Right. And I feel like we bounce things back and forth to each other. And spirits or energy, they know the ones that know. And if they can't get the answers out of one, they're looking for help, And I feel I've always felt like I'm kind of the one to help them finally just pass to the other side.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, we'll talk about all that later, and
Okay.
I'll let them explain.
I want to get them on here. I'd like to hear the rest of the story.
Yeah, the bottom line, I smelled that vomit, and my grandma smelled that vomit the same days. What does that mean? It's
what time of year was
coincidence?
this? Was this like recently?
Well, I found the bones about a year ago. Because we always...
Summertime?
Yeah, on the
was
tracks.
Was it in the summertime or the fall?
No, the summertime.
Okay.
Last year.
Because in the fall, ginkgo trees, when they fruit, their fruit it's like super acidic and it smells like puke, basically.
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about when I found the bones. No, I'm just saying...
I'm talking about when you were smelling the smell.
No, I smelled it in my basement, like, this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the bones.
Oh.
Okay.
I don't know. That's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Leave the dead things, Joe. Leave the dead things where they are.
That's
the moral of the story.
We thought it was animal.
But it turned out to be human.
Yeah, actually, my friends... my son's best friend, we always would see it, like, on the tracks. And there's this area where somebody had some tigers, and we thought, because every once in a while they'd give it exotic.
You found these tracks?
Yeah, right by my parents' house.
Oh.
Yeah, because like every
train tracks. He's talking about train tracks.
For an example, for we knew somebody that had tigers. I
remember seeing them.
Mm-hmm. Christmas. There's fucking camels running down the alley. Oh my God, there's fucking camels. No way. Well, they had exotic animals. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they would do it for churches or this or that. And who knows, things die, people feed things, and we just thought it was a carcass of an animal. And my son's best friend, he picked up the spine. I'm like, dude, don't touch it, man. Put it in and he wound up bringing it to my parents' house. And we put it in a bag. We put it in the side of the garage.
And forgot about it.
Sitting there for like a year. Yeah, and I'm like, I collect bones. I like bones,
And it turned out to be
human.
That's screwed up, man.
I know. I didn't know how to even think of or feel like when I found that out, because it's like, it's one thing thinking,
So the rock shop people, the girls, brought the bones to the police. Is that right?
Yeah.
Police ever come knocking on your door, asking questions?
No.
They're coming.
Yeah, they're coming soon.
I'm assuming they'll be here at one point.
Well, That's what we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously you didn't do anything, so you got none. You didn't. You thought it was a freaking deer or something. There's deers all over there. So
Yeah.
Did you do anything, Joe? No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
When a human spine looks different than a deer spine. Come on, that's not a suspect there, huh?
Yeah, right.
Hey, you are Italian, right? Hey.
Forget about it.
Forget about it. You don't.
That's crazy. Anything else happen? Just to bring it to a close. I'd like to hear. Well, thank you. That's creepy. I don't like that vomit smell. It's not a good thing. Larry, could you tell us maybe about one or two paranormal episodes?
In the last couple of weeks, I had a number of weird things happen to me. I get something that happens to me probably once a week. My father died when I was a teenager, and it's like one of my only memories of my father was the fact that he smoked constantly. And I don't smoke. Nobody in my family now smokes. Nobody in my house smokes. And I'll be in a room, and it's like I'll feel my father's presence, and I'll smell that cigarette smell.
Wow.
I get that all the time.
That's a good thing. I would associate that with a positive.
You know,
I
swear to you, my grandpa, my sister told me yesterday, and my sister, she really don't sense anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, Joe, she's like, I was in the garage and I smelled Grandpa by the cigarette smoke, the stale smoke.
Right.
And she's like, I smelled.
Yeah, my dad was a design engineer, and he used to work out of the house a lot. He had an office downstairs in the basement, and so you'd walk in and always you smell cigarettes constantly. Well, I walked in my basement of my house, and I smelled cigarettes. And the first thing I thought of was my father, and his presence was there.
It's incredible.
And I get that like once a week.
Wow.
And he's been around my life. Maybe it's the fact that I was very young when he died.
Right.
And but he still does. He still has influence in my life.
It's incredible.
And like I said, about once a week that happens, and
just I'll stopping in to say hey.
I'll be in the strangest places, and all of a sudden I'll smell that, and it's like there's nobody around smoking, and all of a sudden I'll smell cigarettes. And my mother's had the same experience.
Obviously, completely different homes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's just checking in to say hi and just seeing what you're doing.
Yeah, my mother's had that. I know. My father died in my parents' house, and then I had my older sister had twins premature, and her son died in that same house.
Mm.
And it was like my mom was just like, I have to get the heck out of this house.
Right.
It was like the energy was so bad in the house.
Hmm.
But it was like the day my dad died, I remember it was when the original Terminator came out. It was a day.
It's funny the things you remember. Like
I went with my friends to go see the movie Terminator. My parents were going to go out to lunch. And it's like I took off on my bike, went to see my friends, and I was in the movie, and I had a really weird feeling when I was watching the movie Terminator. And I got back to my friend's house, and there was a message, get home quick.
This is the worst.
And it was like I got home quick, and it's like my mom and my sisters and brother were back there, and it was like, Dad passed away. And he was 50 years old, which really was unexpected. But it was just like, I felt it when I was at the theater. And I was watching Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie, and it was like, wow, that's what the hell that was.
That familial connection.
But that's what it was. Then I had another one 2 weeks ago. I had one 2 weeks ago, the previous Wednesday. I work out of my house a lot as well. I have an office in my house, and I have 3 dogs. And I was sitting at my desk. My desk is across from the master bedroom. I live an hour west of the city. I live on acreage in the woods. Mm. And my dogs are lying in bed, which they always lie in my bed.
Of course.
And they're lying in, and I'm in my office, and I see them. And all of a sudden, my dog comes running out of the bedroom, past my office. And all of a sudden, I felt a real weird feeling. Smack, crack, a tree came flying. I mean, a huge tree, like a 100-foot tall tree, hit the back, took out my deck, and hit the back of my house.
Huh.
But it was like, this is before, like about 30 seconds before this thing came down. Yeah, my dog knew it was coming.
Was he in the room or the area of the house where that tree hit?
Where it hit, yes.
Wow.
Right in the master bedroom.
Animals, they know when you're going to be coming home.
But like I said, he came back and I was like, I felt cold. I felt the feeling of cold, and all of a sudden, I mean, you can imagine what a 100-foot tall tree sounds like hitting the back of your house.
Sure.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So what do you think that was? What do you think?
There was some energy. Well, there was a lightning, thunderstorms, tornado. Yeah.
No, I mean, what do you think signaled that dog to?
You think the dog was sensing? Do you think the dog was sensing that the tree was going to fall?
The dog,
or do you think the dog was reacting to the wind that was going to make the tree fall?
I don't know. Like I said, it was kind of weird because it was probably 30 seconds before the tree came down.
Yeah,
I bet it was
the dog ran and you felt it.
It could have been
So
like a severe like pressure change.
Yeah,
or something to that effect.
Yeah, but there was
still interesting.
Yeah.
But like I said, I felt cold. I felt chill before it happened. But all of a sudden, I have 3 dogs. I have a pit bull, a Dalmatian, and an Australian Shepherd. And my little Australian Shepherd boy came tearing past me.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
And my pit bull was laying behind me. She always lays behind her dad in the office.
Right.
It's my kid. And but like I said, that was just a weird vibe. I felt cold, and all of a sudden it was just like silence, quiet.
Wow.
Like, boom.
Well, actually, you know what?
Then 6 hours of wood chopping for me. I had to get the tree out of my house.
God,
seal everything up.
Good bonfire,
Dave.
Tell and that's I've been burning a lot of wood.
Yeah.
It's actually I've been chopping wood about 2 hours a day.
I have a bunch of friends that grow mushrooms. They can plug all your logs, and you can grow shiitake mushrooms fresh in your backyard.
Shiitake aren't the mushrooms I want, baby.
Could you grow those, Dave?
They can grow the other ones too, but those don't grow on wood.
All right.
Oh, they don't. Oh, right.
I'm just kidding, buddy.
Stupid Dave.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm an alcohol guy. That's my drug. That's the only one I choose.
Hey,
and that's
salute.
it.
I'm drinking too.
What were you going to say, Joe?
No, you should tell him that story, because remember how you were up north and you were looking at that, I believe it was the generator, and you're like, that'd be crazy if that exploded.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was, I was maybe 8 years old, and I was on the beach in Zion with my family. And I was looking out across the beach, like with my back facing the lake. I'm looking at this, like, I don't know what it was. It was like a factory or like a refinery or something like that. It was like a lot of like scaffolding, like, like ironwork around it type of things. Like, when you see like one of those industrial sites out by like Gary, Indiana or whatever, where you're like, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this thing, and I was thinking, like, that'd be so crazy if that exploded right now. And then,
I've had that experience
like
too.
these giant, like, fireballs start erupting out of this thing, like in layers, like from the bottom up. And then they evacuated the beach and everything. And I tried, like, to look up where this when this happened. Like I couldn't find any articles.
What's the rough year?
Because I remember seeing it on the news later on that night. We were watching it on the news.
Well, if you know a rough year, maybe
it was like, I want to say it was probably between 83 and 86.
83 and 86, Zion, Illinois. Maybe a reactor or a coolant tower or something erupting into flames.
I want to say
refinery.
It looked like a refinery or something like that. But
do you know
Zion is where the nuclear plants are. That's where they're at.
Do you know anything of 83, 86, some sort of refinery fire explosion?
No,
in
I
Zion,
off the top of my head.
anything?
I mean, I can can look into it.
Sure. Well,
but yeah, no. Like I said, I've had stuff like that too.
Because it's one of those
blown up and car accidents and train crashes and stuff. So
it's one of those
watching it happen in your mind, and it happens.
I've seen car accidents happen before they happen and things like that, and I was. And then, like, years later, you think about it, and you're like, did that actually happen? Or did I just dream that happened? Well,
it'll be nice to see if we can find something in reality that happened with this thing exploding. Because that would say you have superpowers, Dave.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I love when you have a dream and you're having a whole series of events that occur in a dream, and conversations with people who are dead, whole scenarios, and you wake up. You wake up like 6 hours later, and it's like you're exhausted.
Yeah.
And you've been having conversations, you've been doing things, and you wake up, and it's like, did I just live that? Or is that a dream?
Maybe that's why I'm always tired when I wake up.
It's like when I had my conversation with my friend Lori, when I was sitting at her kitchen table in a dream. She had just passed away, and I was sitting at her kitchen table with her in this dream. And we were just having a conversation about whatever Netflix series or whatever she had been watching. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, didn't you just die?
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, but that doesn't mean we can't still talk.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like I said, that's
that tells you everything right there.
For me, whenever I dream of people that have died, I could talk, but they can't talk back. And I see their eyes, and I know what they're saying, but they can't physically speak.
No, I've had physical conversations.
That's all. Well, no, I'm just saying,
right.
like, with me.
Yeah, no, it's you wake up, like I said, and it's really weird. And it's like, a very good friend of mine, I told you guys earlier the story, a very good friend of mine, he stopped meditating for a few months because he was having 2-hour conversations with his deceased father in his dreams, which I think was pretty cool. I've had conversations with my father. And it's pretty cool because you get to ask things.
Yeah.
And it's like my grandfather Eric, who I'm named after. It's like I've had conversations with him. He and I got along real well. He was a Capone guy back in the 20s and 30s.
Whoa.
And he had stories.
Wow.
Some of Capone's parties with the hookers and the whole 9 yards. I mean,
we got
some of his stories were
stories.
astounding.
Our podcast.
He was one of Capone's guys who made the booze. He was German.
Wow. And we know Germans make good booze.
Well, he made very good booze, yeah. Yeah, and he had a bodyguard and the whole crew, and they did all that fun stuff. And
well, we did quite a few podcast. Episode 8, we talked about the outfit. St. Valentine's Day Massacre. We're the only people that the only group to pull out a paranormal photograph from the site of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So that whole episode 8 is all dedicated to the outfit.
You know what?
And the Irish mob and stuff. So I would love to have you back at some point to talk about
Well, if you lived in Chicago,
outfit history.
If you lived in Chicago in the early part of the last century, everyone had some involvement in the mob.
Oh,
they just
I
did.
could tell you stories from Bridgeport. We were talking offline about Bridgeport.
And it's like, even just as recently as the 80s. I mean, I used to work for certain mob guys. I used to run nightclubs for them. And it's like, when they ran the city, it was better. They weren't as bad. The government today just rips you off 9 ways to Sunday. It ran better. You needed something done. You talked to somebody. They charged you a small fee or did a friendship favor for you, and things got done.
Right.
I mean, you look at the city now.
A lot less red tape back then.
Do you like anything that's going on with the city of Chicago right now?
No, that's why we left.
Yeah.
Not saying where we moved to, but that's why we left.
Yeah, like I said, I live an hour west of the city.
I wish that we could.
I live an hour north of the city.
I wish we could have brought Larry to that old whorehouse. It was you remember that?
I do. What was the name of that restaurant?
So there was this one bar where they just bought it, and they said that no one went upstairs since like the 40s. And they locked.
It was their other restaurant.
It was a corner restaurant.
Basically, it was like plywood over the upstairs, and they did not open it since the 40s. But it was an old brothel whorehouse.
Outstanding.
And
it was really cool.
We were
pulling out
to go in,
and
we actually took the 2x4s and undid everything and went upstairs. And imagine going to a place that has not been gone into since the 40s.
And we would find little artifacts, little trinkets,
little drug vials, little crucifix. Remember,
notes, like there were little
from
handwritten
the hookers.
notes.
Well, just imagine the whole world's full of places like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I told you I was down in the South, man. You find these old Civil War burial grounds.
Yeah, just in the middle of nowhere.
And stuff.
Oh, and you know what? Yeah, like down south too. Like people they start remodeling and stuff, and they're like, "Holy shit, we didn't know we had a basement." And then there's fucking skeleton bones and remember where they used to do surgeries on the soldiers, like where they hacked off like limbs and stuff. And they're like, "Well, no shit, why our house is haunted." All this. This was an old hospital.
You had a lot of that in the South too, at the Underground Railroad too. Mm-hmm. You had a lot of buildings were boarded up and sealed off. You had no idea there was a basement. There were tunnels to them and out of them.
Well, they were purposely hidden,
exactly.
Right? Yeah, and then they're forgotten.
I'm sure they still exist.
You're probably right.
Thank you for talking about the tunnels, because Maloof was here earlier.
Today?
Yeah, I had a piece he wants to
that was the Vivian Myers guy.
Yeah, he's doing an art show. Jason Davis, he's going to be highlighted. He had a piece that he wanted to put in.
That's a graffiti artist,
and
right?
we're talking about the Reed Mental Institution, okay? Mm-hmm. And you know where the Reed Mental Institution we were talking about earlier with.
I've been there many times.
Between
hopefully as a guest.
And the Oak Park Avenue between Montrose and Irving Park Road. Oak Park Avenue, that's at least 17,000 bodies. They're doing an investigation now.
Right now, today,
yes.
Current.
And John was talking to somebody over there. He was actually security, and he's like, I forget, he was taking photos of something, but he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm work security here, blah 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 blah." And he's like, "Well, you want to know something really creepy that no one knows about?" And he's like, "There's a tunnel under here." He's like, "A tunnel? Why the hell?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like. And he started explaining there's a tunnel underneath the Reed Mental Institution because I don't know if it's like a contract or something by law where they had to give them like a certain amount of a walking time per day. So instead of making it outside,
patients.
Yes, they built a tunnel where they let them walk back and forth for like, I don't know, 30 minutes.
Get out.
I swear to you. So he just told me that today. So when we do that episode, we need to find this tunnel.
That's a whole
and let's
other
go down there and
Absolutely.
photograph.
Why are there so many tunnels? Everywhere there's tunnels. There's tunnels.
They're trying to hide things.
Al
exactly.
Capone was apparently spending his entire life visiting every place in Chicago, every place in the United States, and digging tunnels.
Well, I think a lot of those tunnels that they associate with Al Capone happen to be
booze.
But it was also at one point the coal tunnels that ran all under the Louvre.
Well, that's how booze got moved around.
Right. He wasn't digging it himself, Dave. That they were already existing coal tunnels.
No, he was like Dig Dug.
Dig Dug.
I mean,
it is funny. Dave does have a point. Everywhere Capone was said to be, there's tunnels everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, there's a Capone house on the north side, right off of Cicero Avenue, and it's like there's a family in there now, and it's like he used to have hookers in there, and there was tunnels in and out. You could actually get into it from the sewer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's the stuff we got to go.
But there's the Elgin Mental Institution. It's shut down now. Actually, that place is creepy.
Have you ever? Did you go there and see?
I've been inside of it a bunch of times.
You know, that's where they sent Edward Norton's character from that movie when he was. What was that movie with him and Richard Gere?
Whoa, the Altar Boy. Primal Fear. Primal. Thank you, Oscar.
That's where.
The real life.
Well, that's where they sent his character when he.
Almost all the mental institutions are now shut down because the state of Illinois is broke.
Right.
So that property is actually for sale.
Well, that's
so we can get a realtor and go take a walk around.
That's what actually.
I like the way Larry thinks. I like Larry. That's a good idea.
That's what actually That's what's single-handedly created.
Wow.
That's what single-handedly created.
That's why you have private detectives around. We know how to do all this stuff.
Larry.
Right?
You walk in with a clipboard.
That's actually what single-handedly created the homeless epidemic. Is when Reagan defunded all the public health clinics for mental health, and that's like, if you talk to anyone that was alive before that, like before 1980, they're like, you would barely ever see homeless people before like 1982, 1983, and then it was just like this, like they basically just kicked out all the crazy people.
I can't attest to...
And now they're all in Stateville and Cook County Jail and all the fun places. Them and illegal aliens. That's about 50% of the prisons.
And that's why prisons are so overpopulated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't attest to the year or whether it was Reagan or not, but there's definitely something going on in the city of Chicago right now.
Yeah. And
I don't know what it is. The crazies are out. It's not a safe place.
Maybe it's Ghostbusters.
They need some Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Rahm Emanuel just defunded a bunch of clinics too.
I heard about that. Yeah.
So
let's talk about Triangle Woods.
Yeah, this isn't the political podcast, but as we do, we're off the rails. Why don't we take a short break and check out this song, and we will be back in a moment with Triangle Woods. And we're back. That was Helter Skelter by the Beatles. I think it's kind of fitting for what we're going to be talking about here in a moment. Triangle Woods, Satan Woods, Devil Woods. It's called Triangle. It's in the Belmont Heights neighborhood, my old neighborhood, on the far northwest side of Chicago. And it's called Triangle Woods because this relatively small, expansive forest preserves is formed literally into a triangle by the apex of Cumberland Avenue, Forest Preserve Drive, and Belmont Avenue. Forms a perfect circle. And as we kind of alluded to earlier... It would be, is that what I just say?
Circle.
Oh my God, sorry. I'm reading my notes here, guys. Yeah, it formed literally into a triangle. And, we alluded to it earlier in the episode. Growing up around here our whole lives.
Actually, I was there last week.
You went to Triangle Woods?
Yeah, because I live on Belmont and Austin. I drive either to, believe it or not, collect Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Oh.
Pokemon
So
Go.
I went there with my girlfriend and my friends.
Did
and
you
my
go
brother.
into the woods?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about the triangle thing. I just go there all the time.
Did you find a Pokemon?
Pokemon Go,
I
getting
found-
people into...
I found a Staryu and a Magikarp, but I didn't see anything weird. We definitely made jokes, but that's it. I just want to put that out there now.
But did you know you were in Triangle Woods?
No.
You didn't?
I know
Okay.
the forest, but I know
And it was
that
right across the street from St. Joe's Cemetery?
Mhm.
Okay. Those are the
what?
the notorious Satan Woods that we're talking about.
Did you feel anything or see anything? Nothing?
And
The thing about these woods is
Here we go.
they're not
Here it
that deep. They're not that thick. They're not that dense.
They're ethereal, man. They're ethereal.
right.
It's
Yeah, they're not
it's
deep, they're not
there's- It's not like you can get
No, this is totally a joke that's been running for the past century in that neighborhood. I get it. So we grew up hearing all these stories. Our parents, our grandparents, they've talked about the stories about these woods. Don't go into the woods. You go in, you don't come out. There's people in the woods. People will get you. They're druids. They're Satanists. They're just crazy teenagers. But we could trace it back to at least pre-World War II. There's been cult activity in this particular section of woods, and frankly, all throughout Cook County Forest Preserve. Cook County Forest Preserves are a haven, or have been a haven for cults and satanic activity all through the 60s, 70s, 80s. You don't hear about it as much anymore, but these things don't just disappear. If it's a true cult, if it's a true religion being practiced in the woods, it doesn't just disappear, which is really strange why I don't hear about it too much these days. But, in 1883, if we're going with the Druid aspect of these woods, if it was actually Druids, in 1883, Chicago was home to no less than 16 United Ancient Order of Druids, or for here on out, I'll refer them to as UAODs, the United Ancient Order of Druids. And these 16 lodges, they were called groves.
You can call them woods.
Woods, right. They're actually called groves because that's where they hung out. They hung out in groves of trees, namely anywhere oak trees could be found. Or
How many members would there be in a lodge?
there could be 50, 60, more, 100, all the way down to maybe even 20.
So if you had 16 and there'd be, so there's hundreds, at least hundreds of members.
Considering exactly 16 different groves, there could have
Right.
been hundreds.
Right.
And they're secretive. They didn't go out and they didn't talk about it. This was a very secretive organization. Always has been. They claim to trace their roots all the way back to biblical times, actually. And it seems like there's two sects of Druids. The UAOD, the United Ancient Order of Druids, which seem to be a more peaceful Druid. I guess I'll have to call them cults, for lack of a better word. Folks, if I'm using the wrong word, Druids equals cults, please forgive me. I don't know what else to call them. They would hold their practices in oak groves and, like I said, on or near rivers and lakes. They revered oak trees because it was actually they're prone to lightning strikes because of how large they grow. And a lightning-struck oak tree symbolizes traits of the most powerful god, the god of lightning, whom they revered. There's actually a high concentration of oak trees in Triangle Woods. The UAOD, their main principles were unity, peace, and concord. They believed in a supreme being. So they were more peaceful. But then you have older Druids that trace themselves back to Germany and Ireland, the ones who practice animal sacrifices, and in certain instances, human sacrifices. Especially on the last day of October, Samhain, they would revere the god of the dead. They believed that people who had died that previous year, their souls were trapped in animals. So they would sacrifice animals on the last day of October, Samhain, to release those souls back into the ether, releasing their fallen. And oftentimes there were humans that were sacrificed. They would burn, namely criminals, in wicker cages. They would burn them alive. So I don't know. Is it a peaceful Druid sect in Triangle Woods? Is it one of the ancient, more nefarious, I guess, the sacrifice-practicing sect of Druids? We heard it was Satanism running rampant throughout that expansive forest preserves and the surrounding forest preserves. There are many cases of slaughtered cattle on the side of Belmont Avenue, busy Belmont Avenue, police would find slaughtered cattle, chickens, people in the neighborhood, in that Belmont Heights neighborhood where I grew up. Certain nights of the year, year, people just knew, don't let your pets out, especially if there were black cats or black dogs, because they might be taken and sacrificed in one of the expansive woods surrounding Belmont Heights. I mean, we grew up listening to this stuff, Joe. So we were going to go there tonight and try to get into Triangle Woods. Well, not try. You can walk in if you want. But we had a torrential downpour, so it kind of prevented us from going out there. What's your experience been, Joe?
Well, I mean, the research that I've done also is there's a lot of talk about, the Knights Templar actually coming through Maine, going through the Great Lakes and the Des Plaines River right there.
Templar Knights.
Yeah. And they, even like out in southern Illinois or along the Des Plaines River, they found ancient Egyptian artifacts, old different culture artifacts. They believed that when the Knights Templar were trying to hide the Ark of the Covenant, possibly they might have done it in southern Illinois. They could have done it in Arizona, Canyon. But there's markings of old Knights Templar. So there's a little history of that too, along with the Native Americans. I mean, shit, the whole area is a giant Indian burial ground. Who really knows what happened? Who was massacred, or how people disease? Who knows?
Right.
What I do know is all the stories we hear, and my great grandfather, when he came here from Italy, him and his friends were hanging out. They saw something fall from the sky. They went to that area and they saw a giant meteorite, and they waited for it to cool off. And once it did, they brought it back to his house. Later on, it got passed on to my grandfather and then my father. And maybe we'll post one of those on the site.
Yeah,
so
you sent me pictures.
Check it out.
Dave even said it looks like some sort of iron ore. Who knows where it came from? But
my dad did get it tested. It's definitely iron. I forgot what else. It's iron and something, but I mean it's a meteorite.
And it crashed right there in our famous Triangle Woods.
And I do believe that there's something with aliens and ghosts. I don't know if it has something to do with they could hit that other dimension. Otherwise, it's the energy itself. We should probably believe it's the energy.
Yeah, I don't know. And Dave, he did touch on something that this expanse of woods, this Triangle Woods, it isn't very dense. It isn't very thick. Matter of fact, in the wintertime, you could see from Forest Preserve through the trees onto Belmont Avenue. You could see through in certain spots. That was what was always so puzzling to me, and what old-timers of the neighborhood claim, and police claim as well, that there are tunnels in Triangle Woods that run from the Triangle proper underneath Belmont Avenue into the adjacent St. Joseph Cemetery, and also from Triangle proper north to Indian Boundary Golf Course.
The problem,
so they could make escapes.
The problem with
hidey holes and things in tunnels.
The problem with all these stories that surround these woods about them being used for rituals and all this kind of stuff and all this secretive stuff is they're not very isolated. They're not very deep. They're not very dense. They're not even old growth woods. It's not even like really thick old woods that are hard to get through. Anywhere, at any point, any spot you pick of any of those woods in that entire belt of forest preserves that goes all the way from like Rosemont all the way down to, however far it goes, Lake Avenue or whatever. Like, no matter where you go to in any of those woods, you're never going to be more than a quarter or half mile away from a major road or a house or a street. So if there were people going back there in mass, in groups, with flashlights or torches or fires or whatever, people would see that. No matter where they were, no matter what they were doing.
That's what leads to, the whole mysterious aura that this place has, is these legends and tales have endured for, since the late 1800s.
But you know what I feel like?
Still here today.
I feel like a lot of that is
It's these stories that parents. It's like the Kaiser Soze thing, you know.
Usual
It's
suspects.
parents tell their kids these stories of, you know, oh, there's these bad guys in the woods that are going to get you, so don't go into the woods. And it's basically just your parents trying to scare you from running off into the woods and getting molested by some creepo.
Larry,
That
Larry,
will happen. You'll get molested by a
Larry.
guy. But
in your professional opinion, are there bodies buried in the Cook County Forest Preserve system?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did John Wayne Gacy not conceal crimes and bodies along the banks of Des Plaines River, a quarter mile from civilization?
Well, he basically hid how many bodies in a house?
Right. On a block in a residential neighborhood.
That was on a
exactly.
city block that was 25 by 100 feet.
Right.
But keep
My
in mind,
driveway's bigger than that.
but keep in
Exactly.
mind that was also 40 years ago when, you know, things weren't as dense as they are now as far as suburban sprawl goes.
Who's to know what that looked like back then? And I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. You got fucking Indian boundary. That's fucking letting all the settlers and everyone know that's Indian boundary. Do not go past.
That's a good point. So as late as 2013, 3 severed goat heads were found on Indian boundary.
That's a perfect thing I would say. It's like if no one's seeing anybody in there, where's this stuff coming from?
Exactly.
This is the
Severed
thing.
goats' heads and chopped up cows and stuff?
Exactly.
I can make 2 calls right now and get you a goat head. I'm not even joking. I can literally. I can get you goat heads. I can get you pig heads. I can get you cow.
I know what a
heads.
life at a party is here.
Exactly.
One of my best friends owns a butcher shop. I can get these.
So
things.
Dave, druids cannot exist, correct?
No, I'm not
in
saying.
the Cook County Forest
I'm not
system.
saying they can't exist. I'm
Cults
just
cannot
saying.
get together
I'm just saying
to practice religion.
I'm saying in these particular woods, at this particular juncture in history, I don't think that 50 people going into the woods and having rituals here in Chicago,
But
is-
who's to
is
say
a
it's still
possibility.
50? I mean, over time, that could have trickled down to.
I mean,
10.
but
When
I
you're
can
gonna
see
do
maybe
something
I can
bad,
see maybe 40 or 50 years ago when there weren't as many houses and stuff, and it was all farmland, and there wasn't as many people around, and the population wasn't as dense. But I don't. I mean, I've found things in the woods that are questionable and whatnot, but I never think of like when I was in the Everglades, for instance, I found this little coffin thing. That had obviously like washed up onto the shore of one of the river systems or whatever, and it was nailed shut. It was made out of like balsa wood, and I pried it open, and there was like a little stuffed effigy guy in there.
That's voodoo that you're playing with there.
Well,
Or
yeah,
voodoo.
but the thing is, like, I see that, and I don't think, oh my God, this is like some voodoo cult thing, and now I'm cursed. I'm thinking, some kids were fucking around, like some kids were like,
Voodoo's
like,
alive and well.
I was
US,
thinking,
my
but
friend,
this is the
I can
thing
tell
is
you.
like I'm thinking like some kid bought this in a gift shop or something like that and thought it would be fun.
All right, but all right, listen. If you're gonna hide something, are you gonna hide it where you think people are gonna look, or are you gonna hide
it in plain sight.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the easiest way to get away with something.
And I'm not saying that this stuff, and I don't think any of us are saying that this stuff is definitely going on. There's a rampant, rabid cult running through this plot of land on the far northwest side of Chicago. We're talking about the persisting legends and lore and myths of this place
right, but I still
that are
think,
intriguing.
but I still think that it all stemmed from maybe in the late 1800s, kids were going off into the woods there, falling into the river and drowning, fucking getting attacked by fucking forest hobos or whatever the hell was going on at the time.
Forest hobos.
And I mean,
Maybe there are forest hobo druids.
I'm sure there were weirdos living in the woods. 100 years ago.
I'll tell you this. I do know. I know the bums hang out there.
Well, yeah, but
I
this
know
is
there's hypodermic needles laying around.
Right, and this
I've
is
actually seen them pull a body out. It was a dead bum. It's like imagine how much unrest and like unhappiness.
This is my point. My friend Eric.
And it's a triangle.
My friend Eric found a dead body in the Des Plaines River at Lake Street when he was fishing a couple years ago. The thing is that all these things that you're saying about cults and all this stuff, I feel like this is all like urban legend stuff that parents tell their kids to stay out of the woods.
Yeah, but
be
most
afraid of
urban
the
legends
woods.
are based on something.
Some sort of fact.
Right,
It
but-
started somewhere, and something's occurring.
Stereotypes are stereotypes for
For a
reasons.
reason, exactly.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a base of truth somewhere. Whether that truth persists to this day, I would argue that something like this, if it was some sort of organized,
I don't know if
it doesn't just go away.
You can probably pull this article up. It was an article I found from the Chicago Tribune in 1989 about how there were satanic cults running around the forest preserves in the woods here. I mean, it was like an op-ed piece. It didn't seem like anything that was officially went in any research. It was just some guy repeating stuff he had heard. But that's the thing is until there's an actual police case that we can look at, or something that says we found a dead cat that was obviously splayed and ripped up in a ritualistic way, and we found artifacts or whatever it is. It's all. Because even when you hear the police said that it happened, but you don't really find any
but also we know that they hide stuff too, and sometimes when you can't find something, there's a good reason you can't find it.
And the thing is, if you find a body, how do you necessarily know it was ritualistic? They just weren't chopped to shreds.
Right.
Bodies are found chopped up all the time. People's throats are sliced and all kinds of things. It could be anything.
Well, yeah, but I mean...
And there's no cultists or evil people out there. Look at the kids that grow up and they kill animals,
right.
torture cats and dogs. There's some evil there.
When bodies are found in the woods around here, it's it's somebody that was just murdered and they just dumped the bodies. It's not like they made an effort to conceal it or hide it. You very rarely hear of anyone coming across bones or a human skull or something like that in forest preserves around Chicago.
Well. All right. Okay. So I don't know. We wanted to get out there and kind of see what we found for ourselves. See if we found any of the symbology, the all-seeing eye, the triangle with the eye inside, crescent moons. These are all Druidic signs, and we couldn't make it out there tonight. They say the tunnels from Triangle Woods into St. Joseph Cemetery, they find tombstones brought into Triangle Woods to use for rituals. We wanted to see if we could find any traces. That's any trace of the tunnels, or the hollowed out trees, or the trees with stakes in the side. Supposedly they climb and jump down on you, or drop something on you. The hapless passerby coming through their territory. We wanted to go see if any of this was really true, but we literally got washed out today. It's almost like something up there, something up above saying,
Joe,
don't go.
I'll give you, next time I have free time, which is plenty now, I'll...
because his girlfriend broke up with him. Gotta work it in there every segment.
Are you gonna give me some goat head?
No, I'll come out here and we can go walk through. It shouldn't even take that long. We can walk through that entire entire woods in a day.
And I can't wait. I want to so
Triangle
bad
Woods.
today.
Even you could walk Triangle Woods.
I can even get my metal
hour.
detectors out if you want.
Perfect.
Now they say you got to be careful because rumor. There's, what do you call them? Bungee sticks.
Punji sticks?
Punji, thank you. Punji, I was close. Give me a break. You've been quiet this whole time.
Kong in the woods
then all of a sudden, when there's something that you can contest against, you come alive.
There's Viet Cong in the woods, is what you're saying.
Again,
but for an example, okay, Bachelor's Grove, okay, that's a place. There's ghosts. It's an old
Bachelor's
cemetery.
Grove, I can see satanic rituals and stuff happening because those woods are seriously deep.
Yes,
isolated.
But we also hear through word of mouth, okay, too, people talking about it. We see the graves are dug up. There's a lot of ritualistic shit going on. Word of mouth, people, that's the satanic woods. If you're in a real ritualistic shit, you're gonna want to go there and do that there because of word of mouth. It's like, it's. I'm gonna let's go check it out.
Angst-filled teenager. I'm gonna go sacrifice a cat in the Saintwood.
So,
but yeah, they say there's traps back there. You got to be careful. Oh my God, I almost forgot this story. Years ago, I ran to your house after this happened. Actually, Joe, when we were just starting with Supernatural Occurrences, we were all broke kids. Half the time when we would get our film developed, we couldn't afford to actually pay for it. So we would go into these camera shops and look through the photographs. Remember this?
Yeah.
And then if we didn't find anything that was
we wouldn't find
what we were looking for, we'd be like, we'll be right back. We're going to go to the car and grab money and then pull off, or we'd send Joe in there and he'd steal the film for us. We were broke. We had no money.
That's not a Spurs because he's Italian, right?
No, it's because he was young and he couldn't get arrested.
There we go.
We were older, we'd get arrested. But I went to this one Wolf camera There's like flies all over your house, Joe. What do you got buried around here?
Well, you know what?
But wait, so
Well, Wolf's gone now, so this is okay.
This is okay. So
Remind me about that later, because that's something I did want to bring
the
up.
flies.
About the flies.
Okay. So maybe did I tell you this, Dave? So I went into this wolf camera and I was talking. I was going to do like a snatch and grab or like a pull the pictures I want when he's not looking, and then walk out the door. So I'll be back to go get my money. I struck up a conversation with this worker there. He was a big guy, real big guy. Well, I'm short, so pretty much everyone's big, but he was this big guy, sandy brown hair, beard. If you'd pass him on the street, you'd be like, oh, semi-homeless. That's the way this guy looked. He's real scruffy, and we just kind of struck up a conversation, and he's like, oh, what are you doing? What are you looking for with these photos? And, we were planning to go into Triangle Woods, and we started talking. It was either going to be that night or the next night. I was going to school at Triton, so maybe it was like that night after I got out of class or something. And when I mentioned to this guy that we were going to go into Triangle Woods, he kind of stepped back from the counter, and he looked at me dead in the eyes, and he said, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And his eyes, Dave's going to scully this up, his eyes, they changed color. They completely changed color when he said, don't go in there. I wouldn't do that if I were you. And his eyes changed, and I was like frozen to the spot. And I was like, why? He goes, we're a sect of Druids that practice in there, and that is not for outsiders.
And I've never seen Jay get nervous. I remember you came to my house.
I turned heels.
You didn't even know what to do.
I left everything there. I just turned heels. I left the store. And I swear to God this happened. And I ran straight to Joe. I'm like, you're not going to believe what happened. And I never did go in. I've never
stop talking about it.
I've never been in Triangle Woods. I've lived there for half my life. I've never walked into Triangle Woods, especially after that guy's eyes changed color and told me not to go.
I've gone foraging in those woods and looked for stuff in those woods plenty of times.
And you found nothing.
I find really nice stuff. I find mint, sheets,
but none of the stuff, the rumors that people
I haven't found anything. I mean, I haven't really, gone through them very extensively, but I'm sure, like, I can get my my metal detectors up and running.
Yeah, I would love to do that, and maybe
we can go in there and look for stuff.
Since we literally got washed out tonight, I would like to do, within the next week or two, do like a little bonus episode for the SOS-Radio podcast, just of us in Triangle Woods, even if it's a half hour. Let's just go see. No, it's not. That's good. I mean, we get together, we talk. This is what people listen to us for.
My experience at Triangle Woods was drinking beer.
Drinking beer. So,
There's
are you familiar?
A bunch of bikers I know used to go in there, hang out, and drink beer.
Was it Triangle Woods, or was it like the Indian boundary side?
Actually, both.
Really?
It would depend on which side the cops weren't harassing.
So, would you say, are you a believer in any of this? I mean,
Yes.
Being an investigator in Chicago for the past 30 years.
Yes, you see a lot of weird things.
You had to have heard the rampant cult activity in the 70s and 80s,
Yes.
right?
Well, I'm from the 70s and 80s, so.
Right. So
I was born the first day of the Vietnam War. I was born the year Kennedy was killed and King was assassinated.
Wow.
I was born in 1963.
Wow. So I'm
the oldest guy in the room here by far.
So you do believe that there could be truth, maybe not to Triangle, but within the Cook County Forest Service system of this kind of cultic activity.
Oh, yeah. You see, there's a lot of cults out there. There's a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah. And these things, they were rampant in the 70s and 80s, and all of a sudden it just disappeared. Religion doesn't stop. The Druids probably stopped.
Look on the internet.
Right.
Look for crazy groups of human beings. Trust me. There's crazy groups of human beings.
I'm assuming.
Just listen to rap music. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, I'll second that. I mean, I'm sure if they are Druids, they're not wearing cloaks anymore. They're wearing suits like we do when we go to work. They might be packing your groceries at the store. You would never know. But when they go home,
even
they
something
have
as simple as the Masons are still out there. There's all kinds of organizations that do all kinds
Which
of
we're going to
things.
tackle the Masons one day on the podcast, but that's going to be a multi-part episode, I'm sure.
I might have family that dates back the Masons back to Germany.
Wow.
So,
very interested in that. Very interested.
But I have family that dates back there, and it's like, what happened there, who knows? And there's the public arm of the Masons here, and then there's private arms of the Masons. No one has any idea what they do.
Wow.
And,
I know there's a huge temple up by me.
Stars.
Yeah.
There's a huge, where I'm at north of Chicago, there's a big Masonic temple, and it looks ancient. I'm sure it's from the early 1900s.
I'll
but
tell
it
you
looks
some.
Ancient.
My grandpa used to bring home some stuff. My uncle, He was. Okay?
He was a Mason?
Yeah. That he would get from them. He has a fucking pirate sword. I swear to you.
Is he a Shriner?
Oh, Shriners.
Little cars with the
No.
Shriners,
As a Mason.
right.
But he's a Mason.
What was Shriners part of the Masons?
I thought there was like an off branch or something.
This was an actual pirate sword, and it has jewels in it. Like,
you think it's real?
Yeah.
Is it still around?
Yeah. They used to behead people with it. It was a beheading sword.
Outstanding.
I think it was like one of the coolest things. Like, my grandpa would come home with crazy shit. You know?
Jeez.
Like, hey, look what I got today.
I would love to see this sword.
Yeah, no kid
Get
can
that for the
the
website.
vibes going on with that.
And my grandma was scared of it because, you know, he wanted to hang it on the wall and she's like, oh. But yeah, it was a beheading sword.
Isn't there a ritual of the Masons where they simulate a decapitation or a murder before you graduate to the next level of Masonry? It's not real.
I don't know,
supposedly.
because the one thing you can't talk about it.
What I've heard is that
here
these
we go.
Masons do this really weird thing where they stack bricks with mortar in between them to build walls.
Wow.
I don't know if you've heard about this.
We have heard about
You ever
that.
shake a Mason's hand?
I have not.
Oh, man. You get a guy who's been laying brick for 20, 30
Callous.
years. You know you're shaking a man's hand.
Like the Thing from
Yeah.
Fantastic Four.
Like
Michael
the person-
Chiklis also.
My friend who's a Mason.
Nice little
Yeah,
segue.
you can crush your hand.
Yeah. So, hopefully we'll come out with a bonus episode because we were washed out again. Oscar, what are your thoughts here? I mean, you grew up not too far east of Triangle Woods. Have you heard any of these, just kind of growing up?
No, I'm Mexican, dude.
Areas not to go into, things to avoid and with force?
No, I lived deeper I grew up deeper in the city, and as a kid I used to jump into cemeteries for the hell of it, and forests, but I didn't live up here in this little area, closer to the forest, until much later, and then I only did it for to drink, or whatever, but never
avoid it.
I swear one time I could have sworn my brother and I saw people in robes, in purple robes, but going out of the forest one night, but I don't remember where exactly. It was a long time ago, and we made a joke, and we're like, "Cool." I mean, if we see Satanists, we're not gonna judge them. We're like, hey, "Cool. How do you get into this?" That's
Oscar, let me join.
No, I just
card-carrying
I just want to know
membership
how to
with
start it.
not my cup
is there
of tea.
a test or something involved?
Dave, don't sneeze in the microphone.
Something I want to
please.
touch base on too. We didn't talk about the Manco episode.
Yeah, so a couple things.
And cow?
So Joe, I'm sorry, Joe. Oscar, nothing. Never heard any of the rumors. Right, growing up.
No, I mean you hear about it in movies and shit, but not
localized
specific.
here in Chicago.
No.
Okay. First thing I told my mom today. I went over. My daughter slept over at my mom's house last night. There was no power at the house, so my daughter slept over there. And I told my mom this morning when I went to go pick my daughter up, I'm like, "Oh, Mom, tonight we're going to do the episode podcast about Triangle Woods." First thing she said, "Oh, the Druid Woods," without skipping a beat. That's how she knows it too. The Druid Woods, from her generation. One night she was coming home from a restaurant where she worked, located at Cumberland and Lawrence. It's no longer there. Probably, I don't know, a good 20 years ago.
Was it Dappers?
No, Pot Skillet.
Oh,
Back in the day.
yeah.
That's where she waited on John Wayne Gacy a few times.
Oh, yeah, Cumberland.
So she was coming home, and she saw a man. She was on Cumberland. This wasn't Triangle Woods. It was north of Triangle. That whole stretch of Cumberland there is all flanked by forest preserve. She was driving home, heading south on Cumberland Avenue, and saw a man dragging, kind of forcibly. This was late at night. It was probably 1 o'clock in the morning. She was coming off her shift at the restaurant. Saw a man kind of forcibly pulling a girl into that forest. She immediately went home and called the police. Chicago responded, Schiller Park, all the surrounding towns, they responded, and they went in. She said there was a line of police. They all kind of went shoulder to shoulder, essentially, and walked into the woods to try to recover, to find what she had seen. Didn't find a soul. Nothing. Just gone. So, I don't know. She never knows what happened, what the end result that was. But she saw that, and police didn't find a thing. Nothing.
Well, there's a lot of evil running around. I mean, I've actually seen serial killers and serial rapists
Wow.
And I've sat in a room with a man that's pure evil.
Could you mention a name?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
It's part of another case I was involved with, but it's like you sit down with these people, and it's like they're as cultish could be. I don't know if I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it's in their head. They were born with this, but it's like there's just flat out evil people.
How did it make you feel?
I sat in a room with an individual for 4 hours, and it was like I felt I was looking at death.
Did he?
I was cold,
uneasy,
yes,
almost scared.
No, I wasn't scared. It was in Stateville Prison, and I was sitting across the table from him. And I'm tougher than he is. I knew that, so he wasn't going to do anything. But no, it's pure evil. He sat there, and it's like he's one of the smartest human beings I've ever talked to.
Wow.
He remembered intimate details of a case from 20 years before. I mean, things that you wouldn't imagine. The color of a cashier's shirt. How much money he had in his wallet. I mean, just what was in his pocket. Just observations and things that you hear someone recant that something that occurred 20 years before to perfect detail.
Wow.
And like I said, it's like, I don't know where that came from, but it's like, this man was pure evil. If you told me he was the head of a cult, I wouldn't have a hard time believing it.
Wow.
Do you when you talk to these people, do you feel tired afterward? Do you feel
a lot of times
your energy out.
Yes, a lot of times when you're done, it's like you feel like you just went to the gym for 6 hours. Mm-hmm. You feel like you get. I always have my stomach
That's how
pain.
Joe feels after he gets back in the glory hole.
But no, it's kind of like it's an incredible stress.
Mm-hmm. When you're with them, like, right away your mind kind of like
you walk. The first thing he was walked in the room and sat at a desk across from me. And it's like you look at him and you can just see look in his eyes,
and you just know like it's like a negative like energy, just you just push away from them.
Yes.
They're bad.
Yeah. Every now and then I'll be walking around in the world, and I talk to a lot of people all the time. I do most of criminal defense work, so I deal with some real bad people. And you sit across from somebody. And I have another one I can't discuss. That's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my life. Mm-hmm. And I sat there talking to this kid, and this was a 20-year-old kid who raped, beheaded, and did a bunch of other things to a woman. It was astounding.
Here
I left.
Chicago or
I
Illinois?
left. Yes, I left, and I went to a bar and had about 5 drinks before I could go home. It was like my soul felt evil.
Now, I mean, the audience obviously can't see us. You are a big fellow. You are an intimidating-looking man. I don't imagine you
let's
being...
just say if I had some shit go down, I want Larry on my side.
Yeah. It's hard to picture something rattling you like that, because you seem like a
it's amazing. I'm a lifelong martial artist and bodybuilder, but it's like, no, it's just when you meet a person like that, you feel cold. You feel cold. It's like, have you ever been in a situation with gunfire or something like that? People either get excited or they get cold. I get cold.
I know it. I felt that once or twice in my life.
When you meet somebody like that you know is evil, and it's like you meet that, it's like you are cold.
And you know what that means right there. You know your soul.
Yeah.
There's a difference between our physical body and our soul.
Yeah. But it's like, no, in that situation, it's like I could see killing that person without batting an eyelash. I never in my life could ever harm an animal. I could see killing that person and doing the world a favor. And that's exactly how you feel. If this person was dead, the world would be a better place.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like you wouldn't feel guilty about it.
So are these the people that might be running around our force reserve system?
Like I said, that's what I said. There's a lot of evil out there. There's a lot of bad things.
And all lore is rooted in some reality, somewhere.
Right.
So I don't know. What do you think, guys?
Hey, we should go to the woods.
Let's do it.
I know.
Let's
go find some druids and kick some ass.
Oscar, to segue from Triangle Woods, just to bring this to a close for today, do you have an off-the-rails review that has anything to do with anything we're talking about today?
Yeah, there's this... No,
are you serious?
Nothing specific.
I was going to say, this is a pretty random day.
No, I don't.
Good day, but a random day.
I had to... It's hard to find something specific about the show. This is Triangle Woods, and we're talking about different things. I'm like, okay. There's no good movie or game or book I can think of that has a good one. I can't give you a shitty one.
What about the Blair Witch Project?
No, because everyone's seen that. I need to bring something up better. I did think of a sci-fi horror movie called Triangle. But it's about the Bermuda Triangle. It's not about this triangle. So I, instead of have something completely different, I'm just going to say fuck it and say this movie. It's called The House at the End of Time. And this is a thriller horror, definitely movie. It's ghost related. I won't go too much into that. But it's mainly about this woman who woke up seeing her husband dies in her arms, or dies like as he's in his last gasp. And her son, her other kid already dead, and her current son stolen away into the basement. And when she goes down there, there's nothing there. She gets in prison for like 30, 40 years for the murder of her family. Gets that back. And this is a Venezuelan movie, by the way.
Venezuela.
Yeah, it came out in 2013. It's only, it's in Spanish only, so you can't like, you have to subtitle it. And, it's really, really good. Anyway, so she comes back, and I guess the way the prison system works is if you're old enough, like, too old to like function much and too old to be a hardened criminal, I guess, they send you back to your house, but under guard of police. So she gets back to the house, basically imprisoned in her own house. That
where
all the
horrible
murders,
things happened
that she doesn't understand yet. She doesn't know what happened yet. And she finds out that there's like a strange loop of time going on in her house, where if you're there in a certain time, in a certain place, and feel a certain way, you can actually kind of travel into the same house. And she travels within the many, sort of like 3-4, different parts of her son's years. And she, slowly but surely, we discover what's going on and what happened and how the murders happened and why, and about this insentient little evil happening within the husband. And there are some crazy scenes in it. One involving, I don't know how to put this. It's just so heartbreaking watching it. And if I say it,
animals.
No. Okay. It's worse, I think.
Animals are bad.
No, it's worse.
I hate that thing. Animals, don't give a shit about.
Don't give a shit about
Don't give a shit about animals. That's me.
Who says that?
I said.
Oh man, what about mushrooms?
Please do. It's fine. I'm one of the few. No. It's a scene where the son has to run away from his father, who is in this blood rage. And the idea, the way this kid is acting, the way it's filmed, and I can't say any more than just the emotional turmoil that the kid's going through, and the way he's trying to speak to his dad, who's about to stab him with a knife. And it's like, oh my god. This movie has some of those scenes, like 3 or 4 of them. And I really liked it. It's really fun.
And again, it's the
House at the End of Time.
House at the End of Time.
Yeah. And it's pretty messed up. I said it, I didn't spoil anything too specific, because I want people to watch it. But it's definitely horror, time travel movie.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. House at the End of Time. Listeners, go check it out.
I saw it on Shudder.com.
Shudder.com. Yeah. Shudder. Yeah. Good. It's streaming.
Yeah, in case, because I don't think you're going to find this movie unless you buy it from Vanessa or something on Amazon. Okay. You're not going to find this movie anywhere else.
Larry, we have a segment to our show called Oscars Off the Rails Review. He has another podcast called Everything is Opinionated, and all they do is review books and movies and games and all sorts of stuff. So he lends that to our podcast, only with the paranormal, supernatural horror twist to it. So Oscars Off the Rails Review, that's what that was all about.
I got to check that out.
Yeah. So any closing thoughts?
Well,
I mean,
when he brought up
Joe.
the, Bermuda Triangle.
Should we talk about it now?
Well, go ahead.
Well, one thing, like I've mentioned a few times already, I love podcasting because it's mobile. We could do this from anywhere.
I suggest Bermuda.
Well, this is
the shorts.
We're going to the U.S. land-based Bermuda Triangle at the end of August, southeastern Massachusetts, called the Bridgewater Triangle. And I encourage all of our listeners, just Google Bridgewater Triangle. Bridgewater's one word. We are taking the show severely on the road, about 1,200 miles to the Bridgewater Triangle. We're going to report live. Well, time release radio anyway. We're talking Bigfoot, we're talking ghosts, we're talking Indian massacres, we're talking
cursed Indian burial ground.
Cursed Indian burial ground murders, witchcraft, Satanism.
Like so many things for me to scoff at.
Yeah, maybe, actually Dave should probably stay home, and I'm really not kidding, guys. I'm not driving all that way just to get pissed off. So, we will be reporting from there. Yeah, that's something we're really excited about. It's notorious. People have been talking about it for over a century already. And
which
it's going to
is
be
a
a crazy,
coincidence, you know, this
crazy show.
triangle with Indian burial ground, you know, just triangles in general.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, like, for example, like Egypt or like, you know, like South America. I mean, all over, they're in Russia right now. I mean, there is something in the pyramids, you know, with the energy, the way that they're made of, you know, I will talk about it later, but it's Triangle Woods, you know, what a coincidence.
Bridgewater Triangle. End of August, the last week of August, we will be there reporting. So,
it's kind of the triangle. The triangle is kind of like one of the signs of evil.
Well, you know, for the Druids, it was the all-seeing eye with the triangle with the eye shaped inside.
You have the star, which are nothing but triangles.
Right. But there's power.
A lot of the occult stuff has a lot to do with triangles.
It does.
They're all over the place.
It does. So,
like where power shoots out of that top, you know, like, I mean, I don't, you know, we have to research.
Well, I think all the triangle imagery came from pyramids.
Yeah. Well, Dave, thank you. That wasn't scoffing. That was actually a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah. Wow. But no, for listeners, I mean, we're really excited about the Bridgewater Triangle. Google it. Check it out. Write to the website, submissions at sos-radio.com. Let us know your thoughts. Or if you know anything in particular about the Bridgewater Triangle, let us know, because we're basically going in fairly cold. We know what we've read. We know what we've researched. But let us know if you have anything.
Mm-hmm. And also, if anybody knows anything about flies, because I've been noticing that smell around my house those 2 days in a row.
We've been shagging flies away from us all
ever since
night.
I had that smell. I've been having a shitload of flies in here, and
because you have a dead animal somewhere.
Or a dead something.
Is any of your fish?
What do flies mean? I haven't looked it up yet.
Any of your fish?
I wasn't even going to bring it up, but yeah,
maybe
there's a shitload of flies.
Did a fish jump?
Maybe a fish jumped out in the back of your tank there.
I mean, I don't smell anything from it.
No.
Anyway,
it would take a while for flies to show up anyway.
Yeah.
You'd smell it.
Well, you get
first,
flies. You can always tell how long a body's been dead in a house by how many flies you find in the house.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't know if you know that.
No, I mean, I never thought of that.
This is one of the things that happens. Everything you eat has fly larvae on it.
I've heard that.
Yes.
Actually.
Like especially sushi and stuff?
No, anything. Any food that's sitting around has got fly larvae on it. What happens while you're alive, your stomach's producing acid, and it's killing the larva. Okay. When your body stops producing the acid when you're dead, the larva develops. So all of a sudden, they start coming out your mouth. They'll start coming out your mouth, your rear end, and you can tell by how long someone's been dead by the age of the flies.
They actually used to believe that like decaying flesh spontaneously made flies exist. Like they literally.
Well, it starts as soon as you die.
Yeah.
Because you stop. It's like you stop bleeding once you're dead. Your heart stops beating, you stop bleeding. So you stop producing acid in your stomach, and all of a sudden. Like
These
I
things
said,
start hatching.
Everything you eat has got fly larvae.
Well, I'm sure even
so
particles in the air might have that stuff on it.
Right, but like I said, you can tell.
I'm going to be sick.
No, you'll go into a house, and you'll see this a lot of times on murder investigations, especially. There's flies stuck to the window, and
but
it's
also
like, there's a dead body in that house.
Have you been in that situation personally?
Yes.
Oh wow!
For a body to be consumed by flies, a fly would it's true that there's larvae in a lot of the things we eat, but most of that's like fruit flies and stuff. It's not going to eat flesh. So
no, they don't eat flesh. They just give birth and come out of you.
Right.
But this is the thing: is when you die, or when this is why a lot of this woman has been in her house for 2 years and nobody knew where she was, and when we checked on her, she was like mummified on her floor. Like if the house is like sealed and there's no way for flies to get into the house, a lot of times.
No, the flies are in the person.
Well, what will happen is in situations where, like, the blue bottle flies, like common, house fly that eats decaying flesh, if those eggs are not laid by an actual fly, the body will just desiccate, basically. It won't break down in the same way because there's nothing eating the flesh. So a lot of times in a lot of, like, murder cases and stuff, the body will just be mummified. And that's why, is because it was dry in the house and there weren't.
Well, I can tell you a crazy
really
case out
anything
in
to eat
Elgin where a woman died in her house and she had like 100 cats, and the cats were eating her.
I've heard stories about that.
I was out at the house, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you could. It was like
what was that smell like?
Well, it was funny because I went to the front door of the house, and it's like I noticed there's cats in the house, and it's like I'm kind of looking around the house, and nobody's answering the door. So I go around the side of the house, and there's a screen broken into the basement. There's cats running in and out of the house. Yeah, so it's like you can just
eat and run.
Sorry. Well, here again, paranormal feeling. You walk up to a house, and it's like there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
And it was it was. I dropped a dime, and the copper showed up at a well-being check, and she was dead.
Why, if you don't mind me asking, why were you there at the house in the first place?
I don't remember. I don't know if he was a witness in something I was working on, or someone. I don't remember what it was. This is a number of years ago.
Yeah. You hear about that every once in a while.
I knock on doors every day, and I get hired to do things, and it could have been something as simple. It could have been something as simple as she was being evicted. I don't even remember. It might even have been an eviction notice. It could have been anything.
I see.
Because it's like, I got witnesses, and it's like, I'll be looking for people, and it's like, I can go to 10 different, addresses to locate a potential witness, and 9 of them are going to be bad. So it's like, anybody could be living there, anything could be happening.
Sure. Man. Well, I mean, to bring it to a close, any final thoughts? Larry, what did you think about being here today?
Like I said, this is the first time I've done this. I had fun doing it. It was interesting.
Yeah,
the topic is definitely interesting, and it's like it kind of goes all over the place, kind of like
today. It kind of did, yeah.
Well, that's the concept of it's like when it comes down to it, it's like evil is what's evil. Evil is energy. Energy, there's good energy and there's bad energy.
Right.
It's like we've all experienced both. We've known both.
Yeah.
We've felt both probably within our own body. I mean, it's like you feel rage.
Yeah.
Is that a good energy? I generally try. I never get angry. I try not to. Because I don't want to kill somebody.
Once you feel bad and evil energy, you'll never forget it.
Right. No, you do. Yeah, once you feel it, you will know it.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, it feels like a hole in the pit of your stomach. You feel cold. It's like you feel clammy. It's like, it is. I don't know if they're sucking the energy out of your body or what it is.
Or whatever's, maybe there's something attached to them that's creating this.
Learning, some people are born with, I think I was one of the ones that were born with it, but it's also a learned thing. You don't know until you experience certain things.
Right.
From what I feel when I go in a lot of places, someone might get that feel, and they would be like, oh, this is an evil feel. Because they're not used to it.
Right.
But when you actually experience evil, you know that evil feel, and you're like, okay, that's evil.
Well, sounds like Larry could attest to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you back one day. He walked down into Joe Erie's basement. We're all shoving pizza down our throats, and I'm in flip flops, and Joe's got tattoos all over. Hopefully, you didn't have any preconceived notions after that first intro, but we enjoyed having you here, and we maybe love to have you back one day to talk about some more of your harrowing experiences.
It sounds good. Actually, I'm going to check the Triangle Woods out.
There you go. On his way out.
I'm looking for a druid.
Yeah. Guys,
or a couple
cute
druid chicks would be good too.
Yeah. Joe, anything?
No, if any of you listeners know, I'm going to look it up in a bit, but if you know why flies, if it's a sign or if there's a meaning of flies, let us know.
Yeah, throw away your garbage.
Could be drain flies.
But
drain
a while ago, I was having, the good and the bad, and I don't know if there's something bad here. I don't know if it's a sign or what, but I was getting the flies with the bad feel before, and then it just boom, it went away. But now I got that smell, and I did get a little weird vibe upstairs. I just did put the malachite up there, but I have been getting the flies, and
there's been quite a few.
I'm not saying, oh yeah, that's a spirit or anything, but it is a coincidence, and it's something I want to look into.
Dave, thoughts? Anything to sign off today?
I do wanna go over to the Triangle Woods and see if we can find any artifacts there and things that might be proof of the activities that are rumored to be there, or at least proof of
non-activity.
No, proof of, I guess, people being attracted to it because of the rumors, and perhaps leaving offerings. Like when you go to Bachelor's Grove, there's always
Robinson Woods too. You see little tobacco,
little trinkets and things left, which I don't think is ritualistic. It's much
reverence.
more. It's much more, like a offering, like just a.
It's an offering of reverence.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I want to see if I actually feel something there.
Well,
like the touch of another man.
Well,
there's other ones.
Maybe we can go pick
that.
Mushrooms. 12-inch mushrooms.
Just ask me nicely, okay?
Joe, take us home.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the SOS-Radio podcast. Be sure to rate us on iTunes and Google Play Music. Download our free mobile app by searching Supernatural Occurrence Studies on Google Play, Apple App Store, and Amazon App Store. Visit us online at sos-radio.com for pictures, videos, a member-only forum, and other exclusive content. We can also be found at SOS-Radio on Facebook, Chicago Ghosts on Instagram, and Chicago Ghosts on Twitter, Chicago's own Supernatural Occurrence Studies on YouTube, Jason Nhyte on Google+, that's Nhyte, Nhyte. Email us at submissions@sos-radio.com and call or text anytime at 872-529-0SOS. That's 872-529-0767.
And as always, kind listeners, keep your head up, eyes open, and question everything.
Want to save your soul from hell, riding on our range. Cowboy, change your ways today.